All right, we'll start with your questions for the players, please. Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody, by the way.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN.com, for both players. What does that young fan, Rudy, meant to this team? And, talk a little bit about your relationship with him.
Dylan.
I mean, honestly, Bo probably knows a lot better than I do. Bo's very close with him, but, I mean, he means a lot to our organization and our team. I mean, he's a really special part of it, and
yeah, so, his family reached out to us a little while ago, and about halfway through, we had a skate with the Irish after one of our games, and, we didn't know exactly what was going on, and then his family reached out to us after he got diagnosed, and since then, we've been going to pizza parties with him and going bowling with him and done all these fun activities, and he's been a part of our team in the locker room, and he's been able to make it out to the regional and this trip, and it's just been a really special relationship to really meaningful to both our team and his family.
Awesome. All right, what else? Jeff, front here.
John Finneran, South Bend Tribune. Guys, what's going through your mind last minute of the third period? And you guys have been very successful. Were you guys calm, or and then take me through your emotions after Jake scores?
Bo.
It was pretty amazing. I was just right in the middle of the bench, and I saw Jake move it over to Cam, streaming up the left side, and I thought right back to that Ohio State moment in the Big Ten championship when Cam ripped that one, and then he made that awesome play to Jake, and I didn't see it go in. I just saw the whole bench topple over me, just going crazy, and I spun around, and I was looking at Coach Slager, and we were just like in shock and on, like, holy cow, like that, like we were just stunned, and we were just going nuts, and it was really, really cool moment. Yeah.
Dylan.
Yeah, and I'd also reiterate that there are only 10 seconds left. Jake picked up the puck, and everyone's screaming 10, 10, just to try and get a shot on net, and he kicked it out wide to Cam. And, I mean, with Cam's speed and his shot, you can only assume that he was going to go down and rip one like he did against Ohio State. And then he just made this finesse pass right into the middle, and, I mean, once the puck went in, you just kind of looked around the bench, everyone started jumping, and it was an unbelievable feeling.
Did you guys sleep last night?
Woke up a few times in the middle of the night, but still managed to get some hours of sleep.
Good. All right. John, just 1 second. We got the mic. Thanks.
Again, to both of you guys, I understand you guys you're close with the women's basketball program and stuff, and they welcomed you to the last second club, and you told them, where you guys been? We've been doing this for a week or something like that.
Dylan?
For a season.
Yeah, I mean, we're giving them a run for their money right now. But they did it in both Final Four and the championship game, and I know most of the guys on our team were watching, and that was unbelievable just to see them be able to do that and pull out a championship for this university. And to have a moment like that, that was our own. That was a really cool experience.
We in for another last-second shot tomorrow, Bo, or?
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Yes, sir.
Connor Mulvaney with The Observer. Can you guys just kind of speak to Jake's strengths as a captain and kind of the effect that his presence has on your team on and off the ice?
Bo.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing to be with him in the last 4 years. He's really matured, and he stays really focused in the locker room and really focused on the bench, and I think his calmingness all over the rink, and just to keep that really helps our team, and it lets everyone know that we're all right. Getting down 2-0, he just kept battling, and we look at him as a leader, and he stepped up big time, and it's really easy to follow a guy like that can make big plays and stay calm under those kind of moments.
Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, he is our leader, and he stepped up big for us last night, and it just goes to show that he has that in him. And on the ice, when you watch him play, you can tell he's a very smooth skater and makes good puck decisions. And so we just watch him to be able to do that under pressure, and it helps us out a lot on the bench.
Good. Sure.
Randy Johnson, Minneapolis Star-Tribune. You guys are from Edina, playing a Minnesota team in the final. What does that mean to you?
Dylan.
That's going to be a very cool atmosphere and very cool experience for all of us, especially the Minnesota guys. I mean, just playing in the X alone in the Frozen Four is very cool as it is, but to play a Minnesota team and most likely have most of the crowd rooting against you, that's something we've experienced before, and it's very fun.
Bo.
Yeah, we think back to 5 years ago when we won it with Edina in the semifinals. We played against Duluth East, and it kind of reminds me about that, playing a lot of those guys on that UMD team are from northern Minnesota, and it's just a really special opportunity to come together with the Irish, and hopefully we can really do something sweet tomorrow night.
Jim, right here, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim Conley from U.S. College Hockey Online. What did you learn from last year's experience here that maybe helped you a little bit last night?
Bo.
Yeah, from last year, we came into it probably being a little more satisfied than we should have, and that we were stunned beating UMass Lowell in overtime, and I think not having as much experience on the bright lights last year hurt us, and taking that as motivation to get us back to here really has helped us, and being calm and just staying positive throughout it has really helped us.
Dylan, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think what Bo was saying is hit the nail on the head, but I think focusing on us rather than focusing on everything else and putting all the distractions from the Frozen Four to the side and just focusing on what we have in the locker room and our team has been a big part of it.
Good. Okay. Yes, sir.
Toby and I with the Observer. Can you guys just talk about the unit as a whole in terms of the forwards? I mean, people have said, you could say this is a weakness or not, but not having a 20-goal scorer on the roster and wondering maybe where those goals are coming from. But from your guys' perspective, what do you all bring to the table, and what's kind of the mentality as the game goes on?
Dylan.
I mean, the unit as a whole, everyone contributes, everyone knows their role, and everyone does their job, which is the biggest part of it. And I think everyone knows what their job is and what their role is and goes out there and tries to perform.
Bo.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Dylan more. I think everyone on our team has accepted their role and played it really well. And I think that's a big part of just having depth and not necessarily a star player, but a bunch of guys that can all score, and even our defense have really been a big part of the scoring this year, and you need that with a team like this, and it's worked really well this year.
Okay. Back here, Meyer.
Meyer Metcalf, ESPN.com again, for Dylan and Bo. After winning 16 in a row, I think you lost 5 out of your next 9. What was that stretch like, and how much did that help that team kind of maybe regroup from there?
Bo.
Yeah, that was a really neat stretch to go through, and we were playing some great games, and we got really good goaltending then, and we're just finding ways to win, and I think that's helped this team as a lifetime just go through different kind of scenarios with these wins and be like, all right, we've been in this spot before, we know what to do, and we can do this.
Dylan.
Yeah, and I think during the 5 out of 9 or whatever it was losses, facing that adversity has really helped us come to the end of the season and playoffs. Just knowing how that feels and not wanting to have that feeling has really been a big part.
Okay, we good? All right. Okay, Ships, take one last one here, right back in the back, please.
Hi, I'm John Shipley with the St. Paul paper. Dylan, this is for you. I think you're one of 5 Minnesotans on this team. Do you think the Big Ten conference will help teams like Notre Dame and Ohio State maybe get more kids from Minnesota?
Notre Dame already has a very good pipeline from Minnesota. When I came in, I think I was one of 5 Edina guys alone. Might have been 8 or 9 Minnesotans as it is. Our coach Andy Slaggert does a very good job recruiting from there and really helps bring out the family aspect, which I think is a big part in Minnesota and helps a lot of guys hover towards Notre Dame.
Good. All right, guys, we'll let you go get ready for practice. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. And we'll continue on with your questions for Coach Jackson, right here in front.
Drew Clausen, USHL. Jeff, as a four-year guy on your blue line, what does Jordan Gross bring this team from a consistency standpoint?
Well, I've said it many times, is that I give Jordan a lot of credit because, you know, when he first came to Notre Dame, he was a little bit one-dimensional. He was always a good offensive player, had playmaking ability, scoring ability from the back end. But, you know, him and I had a serious conversation after his first year just about the importance. If he aspired to play at the next level, he was probably going to have to learn how to defend better. And he made a conscious effort to do that. You know, when he was a freshman, even maybe partially through his sophomore year, he wasn't killing penalties. He wasn't being used in much of a defensive role. Last night he was playing against Michigan's top line. You know, after the first couple goals got scored, we had to change our defensive pairs a little bit, and Jordan was out there against the Marodi line. So it tells you how much he's grown as a player. And it's rare for kids to sacrifice, you know, maybe offense in order to become better defensively, but, you know, it's allowed him to be, you know, more of a player that's, you know, that's going to have a bigger impact on the game overall. And I give him a lot of credit for that. He still has the great ability to do things offensively, but now he can defend, and that helps him even more offensively because he can transition from playing good defense.
The back, Meyer.
Meyer Metcalf, ESPN.com. What's it like having the young man Rudy around the program with everything he's gone through in his life?
You know, it's been hard for me because I don't like publicizing it. It's become a little bit too public for me. The kid's going through a very difficult time in his life. I'm sure his parents are as well. I think it's great that our guys, I give our guys a lot of credit for all the efforts that they've put into to spending time with him and helping him through this situation. And, you know, but it's really, I'm not sure it's something that should be, you know, in the public eye as much as it is right now. It's natural, I guess, because he has been with us over the last few weeks, and you know, we're all rooting for Rudy. But you know, I think it's important that everybody recognizes that he's not just he's not a symbol for us. He's a young man that's going through a very difficult time in his life and his family's life.
Pat, right here in front.
Pat Borsey with the New York Times. Jeff, your players over the last couple of days have had a lot of fun joking about the last second finishes maybe giving you a heart attack and all that kind of stuff. Have you heard from anybody that's not affiliated with the team, you know, family member, minister, cardiologist, who's genuinely concerned about your well-being with all this?
No, we have our team doctor, but you know, it's. Yeah, every year I go through an annual physical, so I've done the treadmill test a couple times. Every year I get a physical, and always at my age in this line of work, you always want to, you know, check your health. So I'm in good health. I'm a little heavy right now. I always gain weight during the season, and then I have to lose it in the summer. But other than that, my heart's been really healthy.
Watch yourself on Twitter. You're gonna have people reaching out. George, right over here.
George Supple, Detroit Free Press. I just want to ask you about the three Michigan natives. What have Colin, Dylan, and Dawson brought to the team?
You know, I'm a Michigan native too, so it's for me. We recruited heavily when I first started at Notre Dame in Michigan, along with Minnesota and Illinois. We're Midwestern. We lost several kids from Michigan to the Ontario Hockey League, and we kind of backed away from recruiting there because we felt like those kids were a little bit more high risk for coming to school. And the move to Hockey East might have perpetuated that as well. But now that we're back in the Big Ten, you know, I think Michigan's got to be a prime recruiting area for us. We have a couple more kids that are committed to us coming in from Michigan. I can't get into their names, but, you know, the guys that we have, I mean, typical, you know, I mean, it's funny, like kids have a different dynamic from different states, at least from my perspective. And Michigan kids, the kids I used to have up at Lake State and the kids that I've had at Notre Dame, like Eric Condren, they're generally gritty kids, you know, they have some grit to them. And even Dylan as a goaltender, you know, he's got a little jam to him, you know, he's got internal confidence, just like Colin does. You know, these kids, the kids from Michigan, you know, are a little different than Minnesotans. And, I've always liked the Michigan kids because they seem to have that little bit of, grit to their game, and, they're confident internally, and it shows in the way they play the game.
John
Finneran, South Bend Tribune. Jeff, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your relationship with Scott and why you guys why Duluth and Notre Dame like to play each other as often as you have in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, my assistant Andy Slaggett's probably had a closer relationship with Scott over the years, but I've developed one as well. I think it's no different than my relationship with Nate Lehman or even Mel Pearson. People that you coach against, you learn to have great respect for them as coaches, so you get to know them. The teams that we have respect for, we like to play them. I mean, with Duluth, it's been more obviously non-conference, but we've had them on. They're in our place next year again. So we've had a good working relationship with them. They play the game the right way. Scott's one heck of a coach. His staff has done a tremendous job. And we just like we like how they do things. Their athletic director is a former assistant athletic director from Notre Dame. Our hockey operations director is originally from Duluth. That's where we got him from. So there's ties in many ways to Minnesota-Duluth with Notre Dame, but it's just the respect factor. We have such respect for them as a program and their coach and their coaching staff.
Back here, John. The other John.
Hi, John Shipley with the St. Paul Pioneer Press. Now that you've brought up that Michigan kids are different from Minnesota kids, can you explain that a little bit?
Even when I was at Lake State, we always, in my time as national coach for USA Hockey, I had some great Minnesotans. Jordan Leopold was with us in the national program, and go down a long list of guys that ended up playing at the U. I've had Benny Clymer on the national junior team. Kids I had at Lake State, Brad Wilner. I'm just kind of trying to go back to the 90s here in my head. But, the kids we have from Minnesota, the one thing about Minnesotans as far as hockey goes is that, first of all, it's the epitome of family in this state. They come from good families. And generally with good families, there's ties to religion, which obviously being a Catholic school ties into it. And the other thing that comes generally with solid families is good academics, which also ties into Notre Dame. So it's easier for us to go into Minnesota and recruit these kids. And, when you're talking about that, generally you're talking about character. And I've not had a Minnesotan like I've had a number of them, like Anders Lee and Stephen Fogarty that, I'm so proud of, great captains for us. And they have been the epitome of character. And you never have to worry about them in school. You never have to worry about them, off the ice socially. They're just solid citizens, and Minnesota does the best job in the country of developing young players. Their system, the youth level in high school, does a tremendous job in their development and skill, and generally instinctively, I think that they've captured the market on elite players, because of the way the coaching and the system in which they play.
Matt.
Jeff, not to bring up the heart
attacks.
Could
you introduce yourself for the record?
Matt Wellens, Duluth News Tribune. Jeff, not to bring up these crazy endings that have maybe added some more gray hairs to you there, but how confident do you feel in your team being able to do that again tomorrow against a Bulldogs team that seems to have done quite well, living off of 2-goal leads early on?
It's you can never predict what's going to happen. These situations we've been, there's been some luck to it as well. I think back to the Michigan Tech game where the puck almost just rolled into our net right before we scored the game winner in overtime. It's almost like it's meant to be, but you can't rely on that. We can't go into the game thinking we're going to score the goal at the last minute. I'd rather have won that game with the 1-goal lead in the third, and not have to go through that. But these kids have found a way to get it done, and I'm not going to argue with that. They find a way. They're very calm, and their calmness has probably impacted me in being more calm. When we give up a lead or when we get behind, they're just very calm in how they handle it. The locker room, on the bench, I hear them. We got this. We're all right. It's rare in today's game to have seniors, especially seniors that are quality players. So when you do get them, you have to embrace them and let them lead your team. And even guys like Bo that may not play a ton of minutes, he's an inspirational leader for us. He goes back to what I was talking about with Minnesota kids. He's just a character kid. They find a way, and a lot of it has to do with their attitude and their maturity, having been through so many different scenarios since they've been here.
Jim.
Thank you. Jim Conley from U.S. College Hockey Online. Jeff, you look at these two teams on paper, and there looks like there's some similarities, spread around offense. Nobody's really a flashy big goal scorer. Can you maybe compare and show some of the similarities and some of the differences between these two teams?
Well, I haven't studied them enough yet to be able to do that, and I'm not sure I'm going to have enough time to do that. I mean, when you're playing a team that like Michigan, it's one thing. It's a little bit more challenging when you haven't seen a team. We played them the beginning of last year. It was probably an unfair evaluation since it was, I think, the second weekend of the season. But I know how Scott coaches. I know how they play the game. Like I said, they play the game the right way. They play a fast game. They play transitionally. They have their depths. You're right. They're spread out like we are as far as their offensive depth. But they've got some talented young defensemen, and their goaltending solidified, which probably, helped push them over the top to get to this point. So, I'm not sure how much differences. I mean, both teams have pretty good special teams. Last night I think was a bit of an anomaly with us on face-offs, but they seem to be a good face-off team. That could, we have to be stronger on the dot in order to have possession of the puck. So I don't see a ton of differences in a lot of ways, but I guess we'll find out.
Toby
Honai with the Observer. Coach, can you just talk a little bit about the factors that went into you making Jake captain this year, what you saw from him last year, and also how he's matured this year as a player and a leader?
Jake is, every captain I've had has had similar traits, character traits, and Jake falls into that. Jake was an alternate captain last year. I did something I never did before. I named a goaltender captain last year in Cal Peterson just because of his character. I want guys that I can trust on the ice, off the ice, in the classroom, guys that are driven, guys that want to become players, that want to be great. I'm not overly concerned about how rah-rah they are, or they lead by example is more important to me than by voice. And I think Jake, I mean, he was a young kid when he came into Notre Dame right out of St. Michael's College in Toronto. And, I knew he had the it factor when I recruited him. I challenged him in his last year of juniors about him needing to pick up his game while he was still a recruit. And, I told him that, that he's not going to be ready to play if he doesn't. And he got it done. And then after he got there, he was a little bit, as a freshman, he was a little bit hyperactive. He'd take unnecessary penalties. I had to sit him down a few times, but he figured it out. He's just like Jordan Gross, is that you challenge them in certain ways and they figure it out, and not every kid does that. But when you have guys that learn what they have to do to become more successful, those are captains to me.
All right, Jeff, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thank you.